Hello there, everybody. It is your boy Dream, and not only have I been lucky enough to preview the new Elysium Smash real-time PvP event releasing later this week on global live servers, but I was also lucky enough to be a part of an XD-sponsored show match collab using the event over on TimaeuSS channel. The match is me versus my good friend and fellow content creator Dantalion in a best-of-3 fight using the new pick and ban system plus real-time PvP game mode. Fight number 1 is over on TimaeuSS channel, where he breaks down our picks and bans and casts the entire first match, so I will be linking his video in the description and pinned comment for you guys to check out. I definitely recommend starting there and then coming back to this video, as I will be showing the highlights and covering the fights that continue on our best-of-3 series. And then, of course, at the end, I will be doing a breakdown of my characters' builds and skills and how they went into the overall plan I was trying to execute in my PvP matches. And so I am going to be covering a little bit of what happens in fight number 1 right here. So if you do not want spoilers and you want to go watch the TimaeuSS video where he casts the entire thing first, definitely go do that now and then come back to the video at this point. I personally believe that's the best way to enjoy these series of fights. But with that said, let's hop into fight number 1 with our picks and bans. So in this new game mode, you basically have the ability to do a phase of bans and then a phase of picks back and forth between you and your opponent. In the beginning, you will have a roster of 15 characters that you will need to be uniquely geared characters. You cannot swap their builds or gear after the fact, so you will need to have a bunch of units pre-planned and ready to go. As you can see on screen here, you can see the levels that your opponent has invested in their characters, so you will need to level all of your characters up to make it look like each of them are built. However, realistically, you do not need to have every single one built, as the majority of them will be banned throughout these phases. However, you do want to make sure that you have enough so that when they do ban a lot of the meta characters, you do still have something to fight with at the end, and you're not walking in with ungeared level 60 random characters. But as you can see here, in the end, you will end up with a lineup of 5 characters that you selected throughout the game, while your opponent was slowly whittling down the roster you have to pick from. You can see here from what I've shown so far that I am basically making a Momo-centric team, where I am making a giant death bubble that is protecting Momo and basically separating out his team so that I can pick them off bit by bit. While he is making an Akambe-based buff team, and you will see here that he will continue selecting more supports and more energy gain to make his Akambe an absolute monster. And so once the pick and ban phase is over, you are put on your side, either the left or the right side of whatever map you are fighting on, and then you have to pre-plan basically what units are going to go where and what your kind of opening moves are going to be. It is really important, because we do not have tack skills in this game mode, that you are actually conscious of where you are placing your units, because a unit in the back will not be able to make it past the train tracks basically if you're trying to get there really, really quickly. So you basically have to plan out who is going where in your early game. There is a few turns basically before you can even reach your opponent, and there is a bunch of hazards. As you can see, there is explosive barrels, there are wine barrels, and there are giant rocks that can roll down and smash through the entire battlefield. So you need to plan out basically how you are going to execute your walk-up, what you want your layout to be, and so you can see that we are locked in here and we are starting fight number 1. You can see here that the train tracks are glowing red, along with some spots that are glowing red for the rocks that are about to fall. Every single odd turn, I believe, these are hazards that will go off, and during the turn that you have to, the time to move out of them, basically, they are lit up to warn you that they will be coming through at the end of the turn, so you do not want anyone on the train tracks or standing on those rock piles when those are lit up like red. Also, you can see that we are both kind of going through the opening strategy of clearing away as many of the destructive areas around our side of the map as possible. I walk up with Simona, I destroy my wine barrel, I come up here and I start buffing my team. I'm also going to be throwing my wine barrel down the road. And so you're basically kind of clearing the area with ranged attacks as you are slowly setting up to see what you can get away with and what you can blow up on your opponent's side as you start walking up. And so now you can see the end of round 1 has happened, and so now the rocks are all coming down, the train is coming through. Luckily, neither of us get hit by any of these opening hazards, as we've seen these before, so we get through without taking any damage. But now that those are open, we are free to start moving forward onto the tracks and into those different zones. Alright, and then skipping forward another turn, you can see here we are finally starting to be in range of battling. He is grouped up next to that big wine barrel and that explosive barrel, so I think I'm going to do a little dash across, use my instant ability to get in range, unfortunately not hit anything with the torch, but it is also now not able to hit my team as well. So I'm going to use my Flash Freeze, hit the barrel, instantly do half of the HP to all 3 of those starting units. And so you can see, even at level 60, even at endgame, it is doing huge damage from all of these environmental hazards, so you definitely want to be watching out for them. You also want to be conscious of how early in the round you are using the explosive barrels and stuff like that. If you're not using them just as like a walk hazard, if you're using them for damage like I just was, basically his Coco is going to come in here halfway through the round before I have a chance to follow up with my other slower damage dealers and basically just top everyone back up like it wasn't ever a problem. And then you can see here, I instantly get punished in the reverse direction. My Coco went before his, so my healer is already gone for this round, and now he is exploding my barrel on me with an AoE damage. So now I am very low going into my DPS turns without having the benefit of my Coco to instantly top them back up before I put them into melee range. And so you can see here, I'm going to go with my game plan anyway. I use my shuttle, get my Danta in the thick of things. I'm going to use his giant AoE to start stacking up debuffs on everyone and do a little bit of damage as I'm doing it. Then I'm also going to get Momo over here on the tracks with me, get my death ball going, make them afraid to approach with my alert, and basically just try to keep her safe and keep her alive, as she is my win condition and who I built this team basically around in the first place. And so at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm a little bit low going into this, but I am in the setup that I wanted to be in, and I have a lot of debuffs and infection going out on the enemy team right here, as you can see. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good situation. However, I did not respect the Akambe. I had never fought Akambe up to this point. I had read his skills. I'd used him a little bit in the test server. However, I did not know what was about to be in store for me. During the pick and ban phase, I could see obviously that he was leaning very heavy into supports. However, I wasn't really piecing it together in my mind just how much energy battery he was giving his Akambe. And so here I'm going to start speeding up the footage a little bit, but basically this Akambe goes absolutely insane. I knew he was going to summon the 2 things, but I did not think he was going to have the energy and the ability to use all of this. So he summons 2 guards, then he teleports me closer, bundling me up out of the position that I was in, also debuffing my defenses, then does an AoE attack using his summons that completely obliterates my HP pool, and then my Momo almost, you can see it, almost comes in to save the day while he's summoning 2 more guards. If my Momo gets the kill off here, I basically have a decent chance at coming back in this, as I have the next turn after Akambe's. However, holy, this is insane. There are 4 enemies surrounding me. I'm fully debuffed. I'm already half HP, and he basically just starts shooting auto attacks. All the follow attacks start going out. My healer is gone. I am in shambles. I totally did not respect the amount that Akambe could do with all of that energy bursting. And you can see here my Simona is going to come through and finally clean up the Akambe, but it is too little too late. I am fully surrounded by summonable units, by full HP attackers. I am half HP, half my units are already dead. It is looking grim for this one. It's basically over at this point. He will come through and clean me up. You can see with his glorious swing, and yeah, I get the rebound on all of his summonal units, but it's too little, it's too late. And so with that nasty Akambe combo and just the follow-ups from the remaining Shadow clones, I basically tapped that one out. I am defeated. Round 1 goes to our boy Dotato. However, it is not over yet. So because of how oppressive that Akambe combo was, and that should be absolutely illegal to do, we basically gentlemen's agreed that we were going to use the same teams for the rest of the best of 3. However, he was going to swap out his Coco for a different healer, being Samantha. So while he does lose access to happiness and the insane amount of energy boon he was getting, he is still getting a lot of energy from his Gloria, he is still getting his Act Again from his Inanna, and he also has Samantha there to help keep his Alexia alive so that he can focus more on also using him as a frontline brawler who is basically immortal for a few turns after you kill him the first time. So with all of that said, we are right into fight number 2. Basically, again, same teams, except for his Coco is now a Samantha. And I have a lot more ideas about how I want to approach this fight. I have a lot more respect for Akambe. And so for fight number 2, my aim is definitely to get that Akambe off the field as soon as possible. And so skipping ahead a little bit towards the end of the first round, we're doing the same opener, basically walking all of our units forward, destroying as many obstacles as we can. But this time, the really big difference is that my Dantalion is now going up and climbing up towards that rock, along with the way that his guard is going. So I will not be having him instantly in my fight this time. However, I will be able to control the board a little bit more, threatening that rock push whenever I want to. And you can see here, of course, I am putting much more respect on that barrel than I did last time. So we were coming through, clearing it out with Momo before we get in range. Unfortunately, I did not realize my Rawiyah was in range, so we do a little bit of friendly fire there. However, Rawiyah will self-generate before she even gets to the front line, so in my opinion, that's all fine. And then, of course, you can see here, he is also going to put respect on that barrel as well and get it out of the way with his Samantha. So we are basically going on a different fight this time using the torches instead of the barrels. Alright, so jumping forward a little bit, you can see that he has moved his entire team up a lot further. So I'm going to do a little bit of my cheeky move play again with my instant ice assault. However, this time I'm again putting mad respect on that Akambe. So the idea is much different than this time. I'm not going for the barrel in the back. I'm going in just to freeze Akambe and try to get him out of commission as soon as possible. So you can see here, I lock him and his Inanna in ice, along with getting a good damage out on basically his entire team, along with putting them in ice puddles to slow the hell out of them. That Gloria is no longer going to be in range to throw down her AoE instantly like she was last time, so I'm in a much, much better position than I was in Game 1 at this point. And even though those barrels are out of play for both of us now, besides those wine barrels in the very back, that guard is still next to that rock, so I am watching out and making sure that I am not putting too many of my units in that line and making it too juicy of a hit for him to collide with all of my characters. I am also being very passive in this one, making sure that my units are far away so that if he does try to do the Akambe pull-in thing, he does not get all of my units in a very compromised position, all debuffed right, surrounded by all of his characters. So I'm keeping in mind basically that rock position, where his units are that can AoE me down, and basically trying to get his Akambe out of play before he can suck me in and destroy me with his AoE himself. You can also see here that I was the one that took damage from the environment this time. However, my healer was the one to come through and just instantly top her back up before Simona was in any real danger. And then, like I was saying earlier, this Gloria is so far away now, stuck in ice, slowed. She basically has to waste her turn just trying to get back into position so that she can be in the fight for the next round. So this ice wall absolutely chef's kiss at getting the freeze off on the important heroes and then walling out the rest of his team while I decide how I want to start picking them off. However, he did have the foresight that I was trying to hit Alexi with that rock, so his Gloria is not standing in the way, but I will do almost all of Alexi's life with that rock from Dantalion. So I'm feeling very, very confident going into this part. We're going to walk a little bit forward next to the toaster. We are going to turn on our alert and basically start our game plan, playing a little bit more spread, a little bit more smart, and our game plan is to get rid of that Akambe before he can start doing anything evil to us this time. And so now you can see here, his Akambe is unfrozen, but however, it did skip his turn luckily. He's going to come here with his Samantha, and he is going to do an AoE attack, letting off that barrel. Unfortunately, also letting off the wine barrel that was behind his team. I do not think that he was trying to light the entire floor on fire that he was on. However, this actually did have a bonus for him of getting rid of all of those ice fields, because had those ice fields still been there, my Simona could have walked up for free, and with the extra damage of attacking someone on an ice field, I would have been able to one-shot his Akambe. So, because he did that on accident, he actually ended up saving his Akambe, unfreezing his Inanna, and being able to top up his team before my Simona gets her turn. And then I accidentally time out while I'm trying to decide who to attack with Simona because it's not an obvious choice anymore, leaving her accidentally on the train tracks and not doing anything, running out of time to pick my move. Also, did not realize my Momo was put in danger of that rock, so he does get the punish off with that guard, finally hitting my Momo with the rock. And now my Momo is very low. Alexi is coming in to try to get the snipe on my team, but he is taking so much damage from that Momo. He's getting very, very low. I have not popped his invuln yet, so he is still not killable at this point in the fight. However, he is deep in. He has slowed my characters this time. And so I'm coming through, giving everyone that bento, giving everyone that heal, and hopefully giving everyone that happiness on each of their turns. And so his Gloria came through, threw down her flag. It only ended up hitting Simona, not even breaking her shield. So just putting the flag down to start giving energy regen and auras to his team. However, he is starting to burn over in that side from that barrel that he exploded earlier, so I am now making my move. Rawiyah coming up, going on over, and then absolutely dropping a giant crit onto Akambe, making him very, very low, and here comes through. My Dantalion is free to walk forward. I can now use that shuttle movement that I used in the first match to get behind my Rawiyah, get in range of finishing off this Akambe, and hit him with that Dawn Light. Boom! Akambe out before he can use any skills on my team. Mission accomplished. Now I still have this very scary Alexi right next to me. However, he does only have a few turns of invulnerability, so if I can kind of juggle him around with my team, I feel like I have this in the bag. His Gloria, far away, cannot do damage to my team yet. Unfortunately, my Simona is going to be in a little bit of danger because she is standing on the train tracks. However, I love the position I'm in. No more Akambe. His Alexi is in deep without his Gloria. However, he does still have 2 healers, and you can see here he shuttles as well. Unfortunately, he shuttles himself up onto the ice cube, not knowing that Samantha's moves do not have the up and down range to heal that high of a disadvantage. So she is unfortunately now stuck up here, only able to use her passive heals. And so after getting what heals off he can from his Inanna, the fire subsides, and now it is his Alexi's turn. He is in very deep, he's bleeding, he's almost one-shot, but I have not procced his invulnerability yet. He goes here, uses a move, my alert procs, it triggers his invulnerability, so now he is on a countdown. He does an attack onto my Coco, but fortunately for me, it does not do very much damage, and there are no shadow clones to do follow-ups, so now it is time for me to start abusing the mushrooms. We're going to sleep his healer that is not stuck up on the rock, so that he cannot keep re-topping off Alexi while he is in his vulnerability phase. And now this Gloria is low HP, no longer standing in Scorch, but will still take the Scorch damage, standing right in front of my Momo, who is going to get another hit off, making her super, super low. It is not enough to finish her off, even with the crit. However, she is not going to have the damage to finish off my Simona, and I'm going to get the reaction damage off, opening up that pot card and finishing off his Gloria, the other big threat. So here, I think it's just time. We're going to try to get as much damage out as possible. Yes, there we go. We finish off his healer after getting the sleep on her, so she did not have a turn to go. Now, one healer stuck up on the rock. Unfortunately, I cannot hit her really either, except for this Dawn Light, but it's not going to do very much damage, so I might as well just get the AoE off, hit a little bit of everything. And now it is just his Alexi on a timer, his one healer stuck up on a rock. I take the heal card, get the second turn with Momo, reposition, and just start setting up to kite around this Alexi as he is on death's door, just waiting for that invulnerability to finish off. And so skipping forward to the very, very end, a little style points. You are already deadu, walking by, unsheathing my blade, and finishing off his Samantha. Victory goes to me for round 2, making our best of 3 series a 1-1. Meaning that we are going to a game 3, and right into our game 3 we are going, again, same exact teams. Again, the Coco is still the Samantha. So we've learned a little bit. I've learned how to abuse my Simona. He's learned how to abuse his Akambe. So now that we both know what each other is capable of, who will come out victorious in our third and final match of the series? Again, we are both doing very, very similar opens to Game 1 and Game 2. You can see here my Dantalion is still going up to those rocks. We are still clearing away the barrels as we slowly walk forward together. However, there is a little bit of a difference. His guard is going to make a little bit of a different move this time. Instead of going up for that rock, he is going to go straight down to that wine barrel, as he did not enjoy accidentally exploding it on himself last time. And also, this will wall me off from my favorite position, being that little corner nook of the map after the rail goes through. So boom, he lights my entire side on fire, effectively slowing this game down a lot. You will see throughout this match 3 that he is playing a lot more defensive, not willing to put his Akambe out in the front, out in danger, to get frozen and basically full comboed like I did to him last time. So he's going to be playing a lot more slower, a lot more conservative. We're basically not just rushing to the center to fight this time. And since I am the one playing with the giant ice wall and the giant minefield that is Momo's alert field, I am perfectly okay with playing it nice and slow, so I'm just standing on the edge of my fire, slowly obliterating all of the obstacles that will make up the center of the map, as I'm going to get right in there and take center control as soon as I possibly can. There is also something I want to note. If you guys have not played the live PvP maps before, there's basically kind of a battle royale thing going on. You can see it in the back next to Inanna right now, but I don't think he realized this at the time, is that slowly the outer edges of the map will start being scorched automatically without anything scorching them, to try to force players in and to stop them from camping in their spawn points the entire time. So this is something that will end up punishing him a little bit later down the line, so you do want to make sure that you do not full camp. If you are going to camp, at least camp towards the center on your side of a map. And so to go along with my plan of taking the center before he can have a chance to, we are going to hit our wine barrel and also put burning on his side so that mine will go away first, he will be boxed out, and I can take control of these upper stairs right here. And so I've skipped forward a little bit here, but you can see he's slowly started to walk his DPS forward. His guard is actually going to the very, very top, trying to threaten my Dantalion with the rock that's up at the top there. However, I'm going to just completely ignore that right now. We are just taking control of these stairs, and I'm ready to start fighting this Elysium while he is away from all of his healers. Okay, and so now he is starting to realize everything is cleared away in the center. However, he is just so far away from his DPS now, and he's kind of scared to bring them up a little bit because he sees my Simona is just sitting right there in range to just like come up, ice field all of them, and then everyone will be in range to do it. However, I'm just going to go for the opposite play. I'm going to say, okay, your two DPS are forward. You guys can stay back there and watch while I fight all of them by themselves. So there's just a giant wall on the tracks now. Both of the healers locked out. A Combe locked out. It is just his Elysium and his Gloria now in range of me, along with, of course, this guard. But he doesn't really want to throw down that rock. He's going to keep trying to threaten me with my Dantalion up there for my rock. And so as you just saw, my Coco got swapped in, taking the hit from my Momo, absolutely tanking it like a champ. Now I am in easy range to start putting Elysium to sleep. We proc his invulnerability so he does not die from that lethal damage. However, he is now bleeding out, his invulnerability is ticking, and he is asleep. This is the perfect scenario for letting a Elysium time himself out. Just keep sleeping him in the corner away from all of the heals. His Gloria will throw down her flag just to start getting a little bit of anything going, but again, it doesn't really do any damage. I see what he's going for on the rock, so I get rid of the rock so that he has to come fight me man-to-man with that guard, and now I feel safe to start walking out even further, knowing that his guard is no longer in range of his own rock. So we're getting damage onto that Gloria. Again, we're just trying to get these DPS down so that eventually it's just my team versus the Combe and his healers, and that is a fight I am willing to take. Also, like I said, the burning is starting in his spawn, and he is now realizing it, so he is taking a lot of damage on these units that are just trapped back here because really they have to start funneling through that back side to go up towards the rock, or they have to walk through all of this slow field in range of my units, and both are honestly very bad options, so he kind of just has to sit here and try to wait out what I'm doing, and it is absolutely oppressive. Just as oppressive as a Combe was in that first fight that we had, where he just basically full comboed my entire team all by himself using all of the energy boosts from his team. I have basically been doing that to him last fight and this fight with my Simona wall. These walls are absolutely gross. If you can identify what your opponent's win condition is, you can make it an absolute hell for them to pull it off. Just like this, completely locking out his supports, completely locking out his Akambe, and then the previous one, completely locking down his Akambe and forcing every single one of my units to fight him and get him out of the fight before he can really get anything done. And so you can see here, skipping forward a little bit, that turn that I just showed you was basically the pivotal moment in this game. His Elysium has continued to be chain slept by my mushrooms in the back with Coco. My Dantalion is fighting his guard up at the top. A very easy battle considering the guard is not very powerful in attacking. So I'm basically just sitting here trying to whittle down his Gloria safely while she tries to hug the wall to stay close enough to the healers to get healed. Meanwhile, that fire is expanding in the back. Everyone is standing either on the rails in danger or in the fire themselves, so we are absolutely cleaning house here. We are set up exactly how we wanted to with this comp. I basically have someone protecting my Momo. I have someone getting rid of his Elysium. I have a field basically gapping his healers from being a part of the fight. It's just every single part of this went exactly how I could have like dreamed this comp went when I first put it together. So I'm really, really happy with how he got to show off how crazy his Akambe battery team went, and then basically how I got to show off how cool and awesome Simona is, and also Momo, of course, and all of these different characters. Getting to show off all of these like current NA meta units, because we see so much stuff about like tier list this, tier list that in Asia, like these are the top dogs, but for what we have in global right now, I think this was an excellent showcase of all the stuff that's going to be meta next week when this event comes to us in global. So I think this was super, super cool. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We basically just continue whittling him down in this corner and punishing him for camping in the back here. He will, as you see here, attempt to start summoning guards. He will try to get this combo off as best he can, but he is just so far zoned out, and this Momo is just beating on him every single time he tries to do something. Luckily, his Samantha was a very, very good pick to like kind of counter my Momo, since every single time my Momo hits, then Samantha will just use an energy to basically heal more than I even hit for, so that was very good. But yeah, you can see here, this setup is just not going to go anywhere near as well as he hoped it would. So he has all those guards up, but he did not have the ability to do the AoE on me this time. Boom, his Elysium is finally timed out. He is gone. And then here, I tried to put his Akambe to sleep, not realizing that he would get swapped out. but it actually ended up being for the best because I did end up getting rid of one of his guards there, meaning that that now when he does his AoE with his turn here, it'll do much less damage. It'll have one less person hitting us with him. So, and also he is now a little bit more separated from his Samantha and in range of all of my damage dealers. And so since his fate is basically sealed, we are skipping forward a little bit here. You can see his Samantha eventually started running up the backside to get away from that fire, and his Akambe just had to just start fighting us up front. My Momo hiding behind my healer, unable to do anything to my Momo, while my Momo just absolutely whittles him down slowly. He's even dying from the fire as well, so eventually we end up killing that Samantha in the back line, and that will do it. 2-1 victory over my boy Doe. Thank you so much for watching this. Doe, thank you so much for the good fights. Oh my god, this was such fun PvP. We had a ton of fun doing this. He is also going to be releasing his POV and his builds on his channel. He will also be linked in the description and the comments down below. Definitely go check my boy out. And again, thank you so much for TimaeuSS and for XD for sponsoring this and putting this all together. It has been a pleasure. Before we get out of here, I'm going to show you guys my builds, but if that's where you guys checked out, just came to see the PvP, see the new event, that is what all you have to look forward to. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And then here we go to start off our build showcase for what my characters were in for each of those battles. This is, of course, the test server. This is not my live account, unfortunately. I wish I had all of this stuff, but so you can see here, for our trait, we are maxed out fully to get the happiness effect 100% of the time. And then for her weapon, we went with the brutal axe for that HP. We went HP lines on both of her engravings, and then, of course, cup for additional healing. For her trinket, instead of giving her the one that gives bonus HP percent, I ended up going with the fancy hat since I knew that I was going to be having her swap in to take hits for people in the front line, and I basically just wanted her to be able to be immune from all of the disruption effects, all of that kind of stuff. So I definitely ran the fancy hat on her for that purpose, but I think in global I'll probably be either running the fancy hat or this, depending on how much HP I can stack on this with enhancements. And then over on to our Tarot card, we are running a Series 2 Tarot that is not out in global yet, but hopefully will come soon. The Fool's Nativity, which will give us even more HP from the unique line, and then of course damage dealt increase when our max HP is greater than the target. Not too big of a deal, but 20% HP percent on a character that scales off of her HP is huge. So definitely want the Fools when that comes out. And then we went with the Armor Piercing Strike for the debuff for her auto attack. Of course, we went for the anti-range attack because she's going to be swapping in as much as possible. And then Kokoa's Treasure, which is her instant ability so that she can pick that mushroom that we use to sleep a lot, any of the heals, all of that kind of stuff. Of course, her big Iron Pot Stew heal that gives everyone buffs and gives them bento at the start of every single turn, which is how we are proccing our happiness from our trait. And then for the final one, I took the one that is the assisting cover one, so whenever something around her within 2 tiles got hit, she would jump in and take the hit for them because she is so tanky. It says 8.1k here, but I think in battle with all of the effects procced, she is almost hitting 10k or more HP, so a lot of tankiness coming from her here. And then on over to our Simona, the life of the party, our blood, sweat, and tears, the one giving us those 2 wins for those final 2 battles. We have her 5-starred for her shields, her winter is coming. And then for weapons, we have her in the Starry Sky Heritage, giving her that increased HP and increased magical damage based on her HP. And then, of course, more magic attack all the way down for the engravings. Tried to roll them as best as I could with the time that we had before the PvP battle started, but I was pretty happy with the rolls we ended up getting. So that's what we ended up going for. And then, of course, I went for Sword and Wand, which basically makes the longer she traverses, the more damage she does, and the more defense she has going into that next round. Because she is a walker a lot. You saw that I would always use that instant ability to basically get her up in range to start doing her first hits. So that would buff her and leave her more defensive as I leave her in the front line alone. And then I ended up going with the Origin Hourglass, not only for the bonus magic attack percent, but also for the immunity against the move down and the speed down, since again, I am using her as kind of that very versatile, very mobile person who I get to pick how my fight is going with her. So I really liked this on her. And then since a lot of our stuff we're doing is AoE, I did end up taking the AoE card for the extra damage when you hit multiple targets, which did end up coming in handy. It was never really the difference maker, but it definitely put some damage out there. For our auto attack, we did the Ice Maid Sword, which is a very big auto attack, just damage in general, and then also extra damage whenever someone is standing on a frosty tile. Again, during that last game, I tried to get a combo to get one shot by standing on the ice, but unfortunately the wine barrels undid that plan. But Still a very strong attack. Ice Shards, you saw that coming through, killing a lot of the summonable units, getting that return kill on the Gloria whenever she would break my shields. So this came in a big handy. The Ice Assault, that instant move that allowed me to make those opening moves whenever I tried to make them. Regardless of how effective they were, this was super, super strong. Just giving you so much mobility and ability to control the battlefield early on. As this does have a long cooldown, but it can be used right away, and it does a low energy cost. And I was using Flash Freezing instead of any of the push stuff, just because of the map we were on isn't really conducive for pushing people off the edge as much. And I wanted to be able to have another unit that could break barrels and break stuff from far away without being able to take damage from them while you're destroying them. So that's the reason why I took Flash Freezing. And of course, Winter Doomsday, the wall, the GOAT. Need more be said. This absolutely won us the victory in the best of 3, so that is definitely her funnest skill to use. On over to Momo, who I thought was originally going to be the crowning jewel of my comp, but Simona just really, really shined through. So again, we have her at 5 stars, so she is doing more dot damage, even though we didn't really use her that way. It was more so just to get more stacks of her repulsion barrier up, to make her even tankier while she's being our alert guardian. So for her weapon, I went with the Focus Wand to give increased range to her alert, along with giving bonus damage to it since it is a single target attack. And again, we went magic attack lines on both pieces, and I went for the resonance where when unharmed increases attack and defense to 1, keep her from being one shot by like a Gloria or something like that, but also so that she would be doing more damage while I was effectively protecting her behind my Coco and stuff like that. So I assumed that she would be at full HP most times, and so this was just a basically bonus attack and defense that I could keep up as much as possible. And of course, her trinket, the Hunter's Intuition, this is what makes her alert super OP. Not only does it make her alert do more damage, but you can trigger it whenever someone walks in and whenever someone uses a skill in your arena. So if someone is already in your range and they're not moving, but they're just using skills over and over again, like that Akambe that I almost killed in the first fight, you can just keep hammering them over and over again, punishing them for each skill they use, up to 3 times per round, but still very, very big. And then for her turret, of course, damage when not your turn to just do even more damage during that alert phase. And for the attack, we went for the Hypnotic attack, even though it didn't ever end up proccing. We actually used it a ton. I think I ended up using it like 4 or 5 times. Never procced the 30%, unlucky, but was still hopeful to get off in the field. And then, of course, we have her Erosion Force Field Barrier, strike back whenever someone hits her melee, which didn't really come into play very much, but if it needed to, it was there. And then we have our wide AoE damage. I basically just took this just to have extra damage at range whenever I needed it, and also to help clear out obstacles from very, very far away. Next, we have our Erosive Power, giving her an extra 10% damage boost and inflicting infection whenever someone gets hit by her attack, but mostly just using this for the extra 10% damage as the overall passive. And of course, her Doom Awaken, the thing giving her repulsion barrier and giving her that broken alert. And then, of course, on over to our boy Dantalion, who did end up being the difference maker with that shuttle to come finish off Akambe right before he was able to start executing his combo in Game 2. Of course, for his weapon, my favorite blade on him, the one that gives him HP on his already massive HP pool, and then also granting him extra damage based on that HP pool. The Newborn Blade is insane. Of course, we went for the physical attack rolls on both of the engravings. We didn't get too lucky on these ones, but still way more than enough for what he was going to be used for. And of course, actively attacking, increase damage, and give him lifesteal, just to make him a little bit more survivable, since he was being used as kind of like a rogue unit off on the edge most of the time. And of course, Space Time Ring, that thing coming in clutch. The shuttle is so strong, not only giving an attack boost, but also just that extra repositioning to put him in range on his already ranged abilities. Ooh, I love that combo I did where I like walked Rawiyah up, moved her closer using her extra movement skill, then attacked, then moved Dantalion up using this for extra movement, and then using the range. It was just, it was so perfect, that all coming together to kill Akambe in that game too. So definitely Space Time Ring was kind of just a niche pick for that. There's tons of stuff you could have used on him, but I really, really enjoyed using him as that kind of mobile second sniper on my team. And then for his turret, we went with the Devil. Honestly, this is probably a very, very good pick on most PvP attackers. However, I didn't know really like how much I was going to be able to kill any of his summon units before we really started actually battling. And so the Devil really didn't end up coming into that much play. It was never like the difference maker on me surviving a hit or getting a lethal hit off. So it ended up being okay. Definitely something that in different fights could come in better handy, but did not end up seeing much use out of it in these fights. White Sword, we went with the ranged auto attack, of course, as always. For his thing, we went with the anti-melee damage instead of the anti-roll damage, because I figured because of the way that I was going in my picks, I knew I was going to be trying to go like the Momo Simona route, and so I was probably going to try to ban as many Watchers as I could, so I took this one just to be safe from the melee. Of course, we take his innate, that Dawn Light. It's just such a strong ability, such a big nuke at range, very, very good. We ended up also taking his anti-heal AoE. I don't think we ended up ever actually using this in the battle, but it was there just in case we needed to punish someone that was overextending with a healer with them. And then that Destructive Storm we took at the end. Honestly, the damage that this output was not impressive at all. And then also, since all of our healers were so starred up, everything was being cleansed over and over again. So this ended up being way, way less of a factor than I wanted it to be, but it was nice to get some use out of it, at least in the battle. And then finally, our last character in our roster was Rawiyah. She is also, of course, fully maxed out. This is a free-to-play option. She will eventually fully be maxed out as a free-to-play on your account. So getting to use her and show her off was also very, very cool. She is a unit I have been running in my PvP teams for a long time, and she basically just continues to stay there. No matter something strong comes out, I basically just still find a way to use her, either through her push-offs, through her AoE, through her buffs, everything. She's such a versatile free unit. I'm really, really glad that they made the free units in this game this strong. And so for her weapon, we went with the Feast Axe. Whenever a target's HP is lower than yours, you get bonus attack, and you also recover HP whenever you defeat an enemy. And then for our rolls, we of course went physical attack, and then the engraving we picked was Sword Cup for that extra damage and that lifesteal to try to basically keep her being like her own self-heal monster. At the end of every single turn, she's basically healing herself. I did not bring her extra heal from her chug, but I figured this would be triggering enough and giving her enough HP alongside any kills that she would get, that she would basically be healing herself up from like minimal damage here and there. And then for her trinket, I went again with the Origin Hourglass because I figured she would be in the front, and I did not want her taking move and speed downs. And this also worked very, very well as it kept getting her into position through different scorches and different things like that to get her in where she needed to be. So I really, really liked running this on her as well. Again, that bonus magic and physical attack as well. And then since I was planning on using her a little bit more AoE, originally at least, I put on the AoE card with her, and I even gave her the one that had the upgraded version to do even more AoE damage. But again, this didn't end up being too big of a deal. There was a few times I think where I killed like an Inanna and a flag, and it ended up like being enough to basically take Inanna from like 75% health all the way down to 0 with her AoE. So it ended up being good in the end. So really, really liked how that showed up. For her auto attack, we did not take the Gash, and I think I actually wish that I did so I could be a little bit more cheeky with all of the barrels and stuff and push them away from my team. But I ended up taking just the extra crit and extra crit damage. Or sorry, just the extra physical damage and the extra crit damage. And then for her reaction, we ended up taking the Screw Off reaction, which I don't think we ever end up actually using. I don't think he ever actually targeted my Rawiyah just like up front. I think everything was mostly just like AoEs and stuff like that happening to her. So yeah, ended up never really getting to use this, but it was there if she needed to use it. Of course, that Gale Breach, like we were using with our Simona, using it to reposition ourselves instantly, very, very strong, ended up coming in very, very clutch in that fight too, so really glad we ended up taking this. It also transforms into an even bigger attack that we ended up using to get that kill on a Kanbei as well. And then over for that Gale Spin attack, like I said, her big AoE that she ended up using to kill that Inanna in game 2, I believe it was. And yeah, just overall, great damage from this, really happy with how this is, and also the inflict physical defense down, very, very, very nice. And then we were also running her leadership aura to give herself more damage. And let's see, who else was being affected by it? I think it was basically, yeah, just her and Momo. So Momo was also getting the boost, which is also very nice. So her and Momo also a little bit stronger. Originally, I was also going to try to get Beryl in my team if he didn't ban her, but he ended up banning her too. So yeah, that would have been very nice as well. So it would have been like kind of like a triple thing going on with this aura. But 2, more than good enough. And it ended up being the difference maker. So those were the builds that I was using on the characters that I ended up running after the picks and bans. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want more content like this, let me know in the comments down below. As always, I have been Dream. Thank you so much for watching. Much love. Please stay safe. Stay cute. A boo. A yeah.